Thank you. Okay, let's get started, because apparently I'm dressed for surfing. You guys have surfing in Bulgaria, right? All right, so my talk is going to be WebSocket in no time. And this funny-looking creature is called a sea anemone. And it's on the cover of my book as well. The editor chose it. I can't really tell you why. Maybe the bottom part is the server, and that's all the clients that are connected to it. Come on. There we go. I'd like to thank KLM for losing my luggage. So now I'm in Bulgaria with shorts on, talking to all of you. So thank you, Dutch people. This thing works really well. Let's see. How about we move this over here? It'd help if I hit the right button. I'm like a cat playing with the little laser thing. Okay, so the three things I want you guys to know about WebSocket. And if you kind of get that at the end of this talk, then I've done my job. So there's little to no overhead in the connection, in the whole thing. It's a full duplex bidirectional communication protocol. And it has layered subprotocol support. So, WebSocket, what is it good for? Here's a couple things. Chat applications, of course. Financial tickers, right? If you want to know what the latest stock is and if you're losing your shirt. What's some other ideas that you guys have? What do you think are good applications of something like WebSocket? Browser games, yes. Because we all know that that's all you do at work, right? Browser games are good. Let's see. Clickstream data. A lot of times opening up an HTTP connection just to send back that the mouse moved over here is probably not the best use of your time. Anything else? Who uses WebSocket today? I passed third grade math, so I think that's 4, maybe 5. Say again? Push notifications? Sure, yeah. Anything that doesn't require a big setup and pull down, WebSocket's going to be great for that. So a little bit about me. That's me a long time ago. My son's about at my shoulder length now. So I've been in business 15 years. I've been coming to Java2Days half of that time. I'm a published author, software consultant, international speaker. I invented the internet, and I do trainings as well. And that's my motto to our success. This is what I drink with a little Shatska salad. That's my book. It was just published in September. If you guys are ever thinking about writing a book, or if you've done it before, you know the pain of writing a book. It sucks. Don't ever do it. I'm kidding. It's great. You should all do it. Okay. So, what's the story on WebSocket? WebSocket is a history of polling and doing things like WebSocket is a history of hacks, basically. So we've got things like Adobe Flash Socket, and we all know how much I love Flash. If you've attended any of my HTML5 talks, you know it's my favorite thing in the world, BFF, love it. HTTP polling, AJAX long polling, forever frame, JSONP, the list goes on and on. HTTP polling, basically the browser is sending requests every at some amount of duration, and we all know that everything always happens in the right time. If you're programmers, nothing ever fails, right? Refreshes to the client are noisy, and you really can't get real-time data. Now I wonder if I go back. Oh, that's cool. I love these things. All right. Long polling is what most people use, long polling or Comet, where the browser sends a request to the server, and then the request is kept open. But These things throttle out of control, and the IT guy comes to you and says, what the hell did you do with my server? And then you laugh, because you're playing multimedia games. Streaming, whatever, bad idea. So that's kind of what we do today. So, and these things have their place, they're useful, but WebSocket is the better way, and it finally actually has really great support in all the browsers and all the servers all over the place. So what is a WebSocket? It gives you a full duplex bidirectional communication stream. And you can operate it over HTTP or HTTPS. And I don't really go into the difference between those, but needless to say, if you use HTTP for WebSocket, you deserve to get hacked. And if you do it, I will find you and I'll hack your server myself. OK, so let's talk about the little to no overhead. Typical HTTP REST call, and if we assume that the header is and the content is 871 bytes, we're looking at use case A of 1,000 clients, 6.6 megabit per second, 10,000 clients, 66. It kind of it goes and goes and goes. And if you're looking at Google-like levels and serving up 5 billion page views a day, that gets expensive. I bitch about my cable connection being $100 a month. Can't imagine what Google's spending on this stuff. So a WebSocket call is much smaller by default. And even with 100,000 clients, it doesn't come up to even 1/60th of what you would see with a regular HTTP connection. Because of the header. You don't have to pass the header in. And I know there's a lot of ways you can optimize that with SPDY, but WebSocket overhead, as little as 2 bytes up to as much as 8 bytes. As we all know, size matters. OK. So if we look at the new Google logo, the theoretical size of the new logo, and when I saw the logo, I thought, wow, that's ugly. But it can be about 305 bytes, which is pretty small, considering the old one was 14,000. And if you're doing 5 billion page views a day, the new logo is 45 times smaller in file size. So, things that you're passing along the wire for things like Google, and things like, for your stuff, it probably matters a lot. So little to no overhead is number one. It's a full duplex bidirectional communication. So let's do a quick hello world. And what are we looking at here? So we've got the WebSocket server, and WS is a Node.js library. So all the code here is going to be in JavaScript. I could write it in Java or Python or Clojure if I really like to put parentheses in my code. But we're gonna use JavaScript for everything because it's ugly and I hate it, and I wrote a book with it, so I really hate it. But essentially, we're opening up. This is the server, so we open up a WebSocket connection, and we listen for messages to get passed in, and then we use console.log to output it to the console, because that's what it does. That's not right. Yeah, that's right. OK. So all the examples on the server side are going to be in Node.js. And here's the client. So the one thing that's nice about WebSocket is it has a JavaScript API. And you don't have to use XML HTTP request or jQuery or any of those hacks that are out there today. So we open up a WebSocket connection. We're using WS. So feel free to hack this if you want to. And we're listening for the onOpen connection to make sure we're good. And then once we are, we're going to send that to back to the server. So I'll show you that in a second. So yeah, there's some really, really ugly HTML, which basically we submit it and it echoes to the server. And this is what a request header looks like with WebSocket. So essentially, Our get is going to use the protocol WS. And the only things that we really have to worry about here are that I forwarded the slide. You have to worry about that. But also, so the sec WebSocket key, this extensions thing is not required, but the version and the connection is. So these request headers are the handshake that WebSocket uses. And they are required. If you don't put them in there, bad things will happen. You'll be forced to use Internet Explorer 6. And then the server, if it understands what you're doing, will pass back 101 with an accept key and the upgrade, and you'll be raring to go. All right, we'll do a quick demo. OK, so and it passes it back twice. Well, I screwed something up there. Yeah. Well, aside from the fact that I'm a horrible developer, apparently, yes. This is the expected behavior. Thank you. That was actually a test, and you passed. So if it wasn't for KLM, who lost my luggage, and it should arrive sometime today. So tomorrow, for my Apple Watch with Swift talk, I'm going to wear pants. Number one. And number two, I have WebSocket books that I will sign, and you get a free one if you're around tomorrow. Yay! OK. All right. So thank you for solving my problems. They are many. And I've spent way too much in therapy. OK, so Rakia helps, though. I gotta tell you, like, I got no worries after Rakia. OK, so what's the more common idea behind using WebSocket? It's got to be the chat, right? Chat's going to be the. I love this. This is cool. It's like a monitor where I can see what I'm talking about without looking up there. Neat. OK, so upon a successful first connection, it's annoying me now. I'm like, ah! OK, so upon a successful connection, the server's going to pass back that it's been connected, right? So this is an example bidirectional chat application. I don't think I need to say bidirectional, because if it's not a chat, then you're just talking to yourself, and that's just weird. But it's OK. We love you anyway. So this chat application will allow you to pass back nickname changes, and also for multiple clients to connect. So let's look at some of the code behind that. It's pretty much the same as what we saw before. This thing doesn't stay in my head. It's bad. Somebody come up here and hold this for me. I'm just kidding. All right, so same thing. We're going to listen for a connection. The only difference in our setup here is we're requiring node UUID because we want to identify each client uniquely. Because I don't know. Because we're all unique butterflies in our life. So we listen for messages and the close event, because when we close, we don't want to send messages to clients that are no longer there, because that would be weird too. And here's how we manage clients. We just have a JavaScript array, and we set the client index twice, because apparently I can copy and paste better than all of you. So when a new connection comes in, we identify that client and give it a UUID, and then we assign the nickname to anonymous user, whatever the client name is, and we add to that each time. So we push that client UUID and the WebSocket connection and the nickname. So with WebSocket, you are required really to do everything. You get an open, you get a close, you get a connecting, and you get a message. That's it. Everything else, you're on your own. So you have to basically manage the whole thing. And we want to send back a specific type called a notification back to the client to say, we got it, you're connected, good job, 3 cheers for you. So this is a simple function that is going to send back a message. So the type, which is going to be notification for that connection event, the client's UUID, the nickname, and the message. So for all the clients in the array, we're going to grab out the WebSocket client. This right here is very important. You want to make sure you're not talking to a closed connection. And then we pass back a JSON string with all the data. Pretty simple, right? Any questions? Bueller? All right, and on the client end, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set up a WebSocket connection. And we're going to send messages back. So the message field, we're going to use simple JavaScript to grab out the message. And then check the ready state, make sure it's actually open, and then send the value. And then obviously we're doing some setup here as well, or some teardown. Some tape for the side of my face. And then when we append, so the server is going to respond. So we're going to listen for the message, and we're going to parse that message. It's going to be in the data attribute. And then since it's JSON, we can just do data.nickname. And then this append log command is going to allow us to send back to add to a list item. Let's do a demo. Let's see. First thing first, though. I'm not connected to the internet. Big surprise. Let's see. You guys enjoying the conference so far? Yeah? What? I'm hard of hearing, so you guys gotta speak up. All right, let's see if I'm online here. I do not have an IP. All right, oh well. Okay, so we can see that anonymous user 1 is connected, and up here we can see our server. So we've identified it with the UUID, and we see that it's connected. And then we type, hello everyone. How are you today? Let's open up a Firefox. Yeah, good job. Good job, Firefox. So we should see anonymous user 2 is connected over here. And then we could see so, oh yeah, and we could change our name. Okay. Any questions so far? Pretty simple. Yes? It can be closed for any reason. What do you mean? Huh? Yes. It won't actually try to send it, but it will probably throw an error on the API side. So it's good to just check it so you don't have to catch that error. Because JavaScript really sucks, like a lot. And you want to do whatever you can. It's like a toddler, right? You want to, you hope that they won't eat that thing on the floor, but they probably will. Toddlers like JavaScript is like a toddler. You have to like take care of it all the time and make sure it doesn't like eat its own, never mind. Okay. Okay, so if you like reading RFCs, and I do, they're great. Right before bed, you read an RFC. I sleep better than everybody in this room. So this is what a WebSocket payload looks like. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but essentially, up to about right there is where you'll see most of these things done, and you don't really have to do anything else. Every connection should be masked from the server end to the client, and if it's not, it complains really loudly. And if I screwed that up and it was the opposite way around, I wrote a book on it. Go buy it, read it there. It's right, I promise. I like to forget everything that I wrote in the book because it was painful. Did I mention writing a book sucks? Okay, so when you're constructing your WebSocket connection, so this is about subprotocols. So one of the other really great things, so we've gone through two things so far that are great about WebSocket, right? So one was this no overhead, good. Little to no overhead. There's 2 bytes. I mean, we could basically call that no overhead, right? That's like the first swig of beer before you rock you. Little to no overhead. It's a full duplex bidirectional communication, right? The third one is that it allows you to layer subprotocols really easily. So when you're using the JavaScript API, the way to do that is for me to realize, all right, so you pass in the URL, and of course we're going to use WSS, right? Because we don't want to get hacked. And we're going to pass the protocols that we want from the JavaScript API. And you don't have to use JavaScript, right? You could use this with iOS or Android or whatever, but because JavaScript. Okay, so what are the subprotocols that are supported? Really anything, but there are a list of registered protocols that you can use, and it's in an RFC. This one, I got a good long sleep after reading, 6455, my favorite. There are open protocols, like Stomp and XMPP. And then there's the custom ones. You can make your own protocol, doesn't matter. So here's an example of a header. And hidden amongst all of this is it me or is that thing moving? It's moving. Okay. Let's make sure I'm not still drunk from yesterday. So, to the Bulgarian who gave me 2 shots of rakia last night, thanks a lot. So when we have a client, we're going to pass in the sec WebSocket protocol, and you can pass as many as you want. It's up to the server to say if they want to support that or not, right? So we've got com acme chat and v10.stomp. So the server, this is the same as we've seen before, and the one thing that is different that is we're passing back, hey, I don't know what this com acme chat is thing, but looks pretty suspicious. Screw you, I'm going home. But you can use stomp, that's fine. So yeah, that's it. That's basically it. So subprotocols, so you can use stomp over WebSocket. If you're using Rabbit or anything like that, they all have their own implementations of this stuff, and it's pretty great. All right, so we've seen this before. You always want to check to see if the WebSocket's actually ready, because if you use JavaScript, you hate your life, but also you want to check the ready state. It's important. And here are the 4 different values that you can get, and JavaScript makes it nice because you can just use these constants. What was that? Okay. And checking browser support. You can always use, was it Modernizer or any of the other options out there? But Windows should have an attribute called WebSocket, and that's going to be in there as well. So if it's there, great, you have WebSocket. If not, send them to Disney.com or something. And then browser support. My favorite thing to talk about in the whole wide world. Guess what's not on the list? IE 10 and that Edge thing supports it now. So good for Microsoft. If there's any Microsoft people in the audience, I'm sorry. But here, the most vocal people who, whenever I talk about browser support, it was like, what about us? What about us? Yes, Opera, you support it. Good job. Even though nobody actually uses your browser. Okay, so complicated things, right? WebSocket, if you're not using secure, you can run into problems where your not firewalls, routers, intrusion detection devices won't understand because they're looking for simple HTTP items. Older browsers, i.e. 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, they won't support the WebSocket connection either. So Socket.io is one of the options out there which allows you to get similar functionality for most of the people that are not riding around in a browser that was fit for a horse and buggy. And so you can have your cake and eat it too. And Socket.io has a lot of different things that are nice compared to WebSocket, so it puts some stuff on top of it. Sock.js is used by a lot of frameworks and libraries out there to provide JavaScript support and fallback as needed. And WebSocket.js is just something I pulled out of my hat. There's some alternatives, Socket.io, Pusher, Slanger, Thunderpush. Some of these names, man, they're horrible. But Pusher's quite nice. I've used that in some projects with our company. Here are some helpful links. I will post the show notes later. But that's kind of it. So do you guys have questions? I can hear a pin drop. You were first. Sorry. I'll get you. Yes? You know, I had a slide on that. I wonder if I'll just refresh. Let's see. It hates me. It works very well, apparently. Okay, so the question was about what about HTTP 2? The main thing that I can tell from reading the spec is that the server is allowed to terminate an idle connection if it sees fit. With WebSocket, that doesn't happen. So if you want to open a connection and leave it open until the cows come home, I don't know if that's a term that you guys ever use, probably not, until the rakia is done, then you can do that. But with HTTP 2, it can close it at any time. And I believe you can only have a single connection with HTTP 2. I might be wrong on that. But here's the thing. So WebSocket in 2010, 2011 is where HTTP 2 is today. So the browser support is there, but it's not great. I think Edge version 7 will use it. No, but I think IE 11, is that a thing? Or is that Edge? I read something about it. It said Edge supports it in like the second iteration of whatever. But a lot of the servers, the support for it is kind of there. Nginx, Apache, with protocols and plugins. But I don't want to trust my stuff on something that may or may not work. WebSocket has a JavaScript API. So, you know, your mileage may vary. A lot of people are saying that HTTP 2 will mean the end of WebSocket. which is great because I'm not seeing a lot of money from my book anyway, so whatever. I'm not going to retire, but go buy the book. Does that answer your question? Maybe? OK. Yes? Do, 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 do. No? He's not even like looking at me anymore. He's like, I had a question, but I'm done. Any other questions? Does anybody know where my pants are? OK. Great. Go to lunch. Thank you, guys.